You can put them down. I can tell you all those stories. And I am so grateful that the Keep Notice Vigil continues on, even though I've been a little busy. It's been powerful to see the community step up and really continue Fred Ryan's legacy, because it needed to happen. So thank you all. I appreciate what you do outside of this room as well. Okay, so tonight, I want to again thank you for showing up. We are here because we want to make sure that we take your voice into the negotiations, that this will not be one that the community is not engaged in the process. But whenever I do these things, I have ground rules, and we need to agree that how we're going to treat each other tonight. And so, are they going to be? There they are. Boom! Just like that. I had my back turned, and then it changed. Okay, and so the first ground rule is take space, make space, right? Some of us talk a lot. Not gonna call any names, you know who you are. And others really wanna say things and have great things to say, but we don't create a space to give them so that they can do that. So can we agree that for tonight, we will take space and make space with each other?
Yeah.
Okay, that was really weak, because if we start off weak, it can only get worse from there, okay? So we're gonna try this one more time. Can we as a community agree that we're gonna take space and make space? Yes! All right, now we're together. Thank you. It's okay to disagree. We can challenge ideas, we can challenge policies, but it is not okay to be disagreeable. And so our job tonight is to listen to each other. The mayor and I are not going to talk at all. We will be coming around the tables and we'll be listening in on conversations, and please don't talk to us. This is really about you talking to your neighbors, talking to the community about what the community wants, right? You will hear what we want more than you need to hear, right? But for tonight, this is about you. So can we agree that it's going to be okay to disagree, but we're not going to be disagreeable people with each other? Yes. Thank you. Number 3, this is not a debate. We're here gathering information that will inform our decision making. That is it. We're not going to debate any issues in this room tonight. Can we agree that that is a good rule? Yes. Thank you. Use I statements. Talk about what your lived experience is. Be respectful of lived experiences that are different than your own. Can we agree to do that? Yes. You guys are good. One speaker at a time. It's kind of hard to hear what other people are saying if your lips are moving. And so can we agree that we're going to listen to each other deeply and not interrupt and not talk over each other? Can we agree? Yes. Excellent. And last but not least, no name calling, stereotyping, making assumptions about other people. I always say, but for grace, who knows where I would be, right? So can we agree that we're just not gonna just assume that we know people based on whatever crazy things we use to decide how we know people? Can we agree on that? Yes. Excellent. Can we respect each other, especially your facilitator, right? They don't know you people. I know you people. They don't, right? So be nice to your facilitator when they tell you it's time to wrap up. Please just support what we're doing here, because this only works if we're all in it together. Can you agree to that? Yes. All right. Focused on solutions, ideas, and priorities, right? Clearly, we cannot go into negotiations with 25 demands, right? Because, you know, that just doesn't work in any negotiation, right? So try to focus, set priorities, and come with solutions and ideas. Can we agree to that? Yes. Excellent. Stick to the topic on the table. We're going to be limited to 3 topics, otherwise we'd be here for the rest of our adult life. So we're only going to talk about 3 topics tonight and only 30 minutes apiece. And when your facilitator says it's time to wrap it up, you're going to support that effort. Can you agree to stick to the topic at hand at the table? Yes. You're getting a little weaker again. Good thing I only got one more. Okay, we all share a responsibility, right? Right? We're all in this together, right? This is our community. We have an obligation to make sure that we treat our community with respect. Can we agree that that's how we're going to do it tonight? Yes. Thank you. And my favorite, if you have a cell phone, can you put it on vibrate? Unless you have a sick parent or child, but please vibrate, because the worst thing that can happen is you're in the middle of a conversation and somebody's phone goes off. Even though I love the music that you don't think is associated with the person, right, until their phone rings. Can we agree to that? Yes. Excellent. Well, I'm going to turn the mic over now to Matt McNally, who is the best community organizer, but the city of Portland doesn't have a title for that, so we call him our community engagement outreach something or other. Matt McNally.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go over the overview of what the format of this event is going to look like. First, just some quick housekeeping. If anyone needs to use the bathroom, you just exit the hallway that you entered. There's a sign directing you to the bathroom, so you just go down that hallway and take a left. I want folks to know that we have Spanish interpretation here tonight. We also have ASL interpretation, and we also have a child care table over here where the mayor and commissioner are right now. So if anyone needs those services, please connect with the interpreter or child care. All right, so when you all entered today, you wrote down what your top priority was, and right now our facilitators are counting up all those cards to see what the 3 topics that we're going to talk about today are. So that's going to happen momentarily. And so what's going to happen is each of those facilitators is going to have a big piece of paper with the topic listed on it. They're going to stand at the table, and they're going to hold that up. So once we get started, you're going to break out and you're going to find the table you want to talk about, the subject you'd like to talk about. You're going to sit at that table, and then we're going to get started with a 30-minute round of discussions where the facilitator is going to be keeping notes about summarizing all the thoughts that you'd like our electeds in the city to see. After about 30 minutes, we'll let you know that time's coming up. We'll give you a 5-minute warning so we can wrap up the conversation. Then we'll have a 5 minutes or so to go to the bathroom, reset, grab some food, and then you have an opportunity to participate on another 30-minute discussion after that. So there's going to be 3 different subjects that you can pick from, but you'll have time to participate twice. So you want to, of the 3 subjects, think about the 2 that are the most important to you, and those are the 2 tables you'll want to find throughout the night. And I'll be your timekeeper so people know kind of how much longer you have to speak. If you are really passionate about one subject, you don't have to switch to another subject either. You could stay at a table and keep continuing the discussion around the biggest issue to you. So that's what the format of this event is going to be. I'll be your timekeeper. As we mentioned, the mayor and the commissioner will be walking around to listen. But please, what's most important is that you're talking to each other and that your facilitator is accurately summarizing your views. Please don't get distracted or speak to the mayor or the commissioner, and just focus on the discussion happening at your table. And so that's the overview of the event. Anybody that has the sticker that I have on here, it says something like "we're here to help" or "have a question, I can help." We're all staff, and if you have any questions or need anything throughout the event, please help us out. Don't forget that we have all food and beverages up there. And then media, anybody filming has to be in the area in the back there. So that's the lay of the land here. I'm going to turn it over to Heidi, who's the city attorney, who's going to explain a little bit about the collective bargaining process that the city will be going through. And then we're going to announce our subjects, and then we're going to get started. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. Thank you to everybody who's here today. I appreciate your interest in this process. I'm just going to give an overview, thank you. I will give an overview of the collective bargaining process so that you have some sense of the timelines, what's going to be involved in this process, and what to look for as we go through it. So the first thing that I want to tell you about is Oregon law. The Oregon law gives public employees the right to be represented by unions, as I'm sure many of you know, and also to negotiate collective bargaining agreements. The law requires that employers and employees represented by unions get together and bargain over whatever conditions of employment that they want to have moving forward. In particular, they're required to discuss certain topics such as direct or indirect monetary benefits, wages, health insurance, hours, vacation, sick leave, grievance procedures, and then other conditions of employment that are similar to those that I just listed. Oregon's legislature adopted this law to require that employers and employees represented by unions come together and try to work together in harmony to create a workplace that is conducive to positive work performance by employees and also a positive experience by the employees there. For contracts last a certain period of time. They can be as long as the parties want to agree to have them to. In this instance, we're talking about the police contract. That contract was for 3 years. So as the mayor stated, it expires June 30th of 2020. At that time when it expires, it will go into something called status quo. What that means is that if we are not done bargaining by the time the contract expires, those conditions in the contract will continue until we either get to an agreement or we proceed another route, which I'm going to go over in a minute. The parties are required by law to bargain, for not less than 150 days. They can bargain less time than that if they can get to an agreement on all the outstanding issues, but they cannot bargain less time than that if they're not in agreement. So it'll be at least 150 days from when bargaining starts before it will stop. And what happens after that is that it goes to something called mediation, which is just for 15 days. And after mediation, if the parties still can't agree on all the conditions that they want in their collective bargaining agreement, then at that point, either side can declare what's called impasse, which is just like it sounds. The parties can't come to an agreement on certain issues, and those issues remain outstanding between the parties. When parties are bargaining, there is a requirement that they act in good faith. The state agency that's tasked with interpreting the Public Employees Collective Bargaining Act is called the Employment Relations Board. In defining what is good faith bargaining, they really talk about what is bad faith bargaining more than what is good faith bargaining. And the things that they've identified are basically 2 ways that you can have bad faith bargaining. One way is when either the employer or the union's conduct is considered so harmful to negotiations that it's just a violation of good faith bargaining. That's simply what they call it. The other way is the Employment Relations Board looks at the totality of what's going on in the relationship, and in particular they will look at any tactics by either side to delay, the contents of the proposal that suggest a party is not trying to reach an agreement, behavior of the negotiator for either side, the nature and number of concessions that each side makes, of the failure to explain a bargaining position, and then finally the course of negotiations, how each side is acting throughout that process. So during the bargaining process, once each side comes to an agreement on an issue, then they'll enter what's called a tentative agreement. You'll hear people reference a TA. If you hear that, that means that both people negotiating have agreed tentatively that this is what they want to have in their contract. So there may be a number of issues out there, and hopefully we can whittle them down to none, or at least narrow them a great deal so that we only have a few topics left outstanding at the end. Once something is in a contract, then if a party wants to change it, oftentimes the Employment Relations Board will look to see whether you're giving something of similar value to the other side in order to get what you want. So if you're asking for something that's not already in the contract, oftentimes you'll have to give something of similar value to gain that. Once you get to the end of that, I was talking to you about a 150-day period of bargaining. You go to mediation. Then there are 2 ways you can go once you get to impasse. There's unions that are allowed to go on strike, and their process is different. If they disagree at the end of that, then they can go on strike and the employer can implement the last proposals that they've had on the table. However, for police and fire and 911 dispatchers and call takers, there's a different process. They are not allowed to go on strike because they are public safety employees and we need them for emergencies. So because of that, the Oregon legislature came up with a different way to deal with impasse between those parties, and that's through interest arbitration. In the interest arbitration process, the interest arbitrator, both sides will go at the end, and 2 weeks before the hearing, each side will offer what's called their last best offer. In their last best offer, they will put in what they want the arbitrator to consider from their side. And when you get to the arbitration, it's like any other hearing. There's witnesses